Hello everyone, aray na kita sa chapter 2 sa ating nga lesson. And for the chapter 1, we focus on God's faith, right? Or Abraham's faith to God. So this time, we're gonna focus on God's promise to Abraham, or what do you call whatever. Okay, so in this chapter 2, we're gonna focus on the book of Genesis, chapter 15 verse 1 to 6. So, same as first chapter 1, kaya makita sige hapon sa ginatawag natin ng summarization for the whole story. 2 pages in and for teachers, I encourage you to read it. Okay, para makabulig man sa inyo, makahatag insights about sa whole story sa sininga chapter. So, thank you. And then, same as the first chapter, before we start our lesson, we will going to have an activity. Okay? So, here, naman siya instructions, hindi man ka mamubudlayan, hindi ka tama. So, first chapter diri, may sila activity. Okay? And you will be given pictures as well, illustrations like this. So, we have 2 pictures here, but we're going to do 1 picture only. Okay? So, since our lesson focuses on promise, dili bala natin maano kung gatuman ka bala sa imong promisa or sa instructions bala gapati ka. Okay, so for the first picture here, we added the instruction nga when you go to hot country, we always wear hats. And the road to that country doesn't stop. And don't bring a suitcase, bring a backpack. Also, people in those countries like the color red, so let's wear a red t-shirt. See you at the airport at 7 p.m. So what's wrong in this picture? So, ipamakot yung sa mga kabataan. Okay, first picture. Ano ang wrong there? So, first instruction, right? This girl is going to a hot country. So, wear a hat. So, as you can see, she's not wearing a hat. So, put circle. That's wrong. She's not wearing a hat. 2, the road of the country doesn't stop. So, don't bring a suitcase. Instead, bring a backpack. But nakita nyo, nagdala siya suitcase. So, that's wrong. So, circle. Third part, also, in those country, like the color red. But as you can see, this girl is wearing a yellow shirt. So, that's wrong. Instead of yellow, she should wear red. And lastly, I'll see you at the airport at 7 p.m. But as you can see the time, it's already 7:30 p.m. So, she's late. So, that's wrong. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 mistakes in this picture. So explain that this child didn't keep her promise for the said time. Kung nag-instruct sa iyo, wala siya nag-keep. Okay, and for here, before we move on to the lesson proper, may already instructions or mga pamangkutanan sa mga kabataan kung paano nyo ma-deliver ang introduction sa story. And for example, here, you can ask the students that, students, did you enjoy the activity? And then, how would you feel if you made a promise to someone and they didn't keep it? So, you can ask the students, ano mabatsyagan nyo kung arang may napromisa sa inyo pero wala nila gintuman, ano inyo mabatsyagan? And how do we act when we do that? And then, how would you treat God's promises? So, God has given us promise through the Bible. However, there are times when it seems that God's promises will not be fulfilled. What should we do in such situation? Let's find out through the Bible story. So this is how you introduce the Bible story. Okay, so let's move on to the lesson proper. Or you can pwede mo kamuka think sa inyong inyong own ideas on how you're going to introduce the story, but it should be coinciding or connected. Okay, so for the first part here, like I said a while ago, this lesson is in the book of Genesis chapter 15 verses 1 to 6. So you'll be given again this kind of illustration. So this is the first part of the illustration. May arat ka mo diri copy and you can just read it. Okay, so I will make you a will make a great nation through you. But Abram is still Abram. Abraham's name here is still Abram because this was the time that Jesus didn't change his name. Okay, so Abram was terrified because he had no children and no one would inherit everything he had. And God appeared to Abram, who was afraid, and said, Abram, don't be afraid. I am your shield, and I will give you a great reward. And on the second part, this one. So first no, and then just fold it here on the top. Kag magashow ni siya nga illustration. And when God heard God's word, he asked God, God, what reward do you want me to give? He asked God. Abram asked God, I don't have a son, and the one who will inherit my property will be my servant Eliezer. God heard Abraham's story and or prayer, and then God answered him. He is not the one who will inherit yours. He who is born of your body will inherit yours. And then after that, Abraham went outside. Okay. The sky was filled with countless stars. God said to Abraham, look at the sky. Can you count many stars in the sky? Your offspring will be as numerous as the stars. And then Abraham believed God's promise. So even though Abraham here was old, but he still believes on what God said to him, that his offspring will be as numerous as the stars, uncountable. And Abraham believed God's promise, and God saw Abraham's believing in the promise and considered him righteous. So because God saw Abraham's heart that gapati siya sa Ginoo, sa promises ng Ginoo, so consider sa Ginoo si Abraham as a righteous man. And then Abraham was afraid that God's promise will not be fulfilled because he had no son to inherit what his promise. Okay. Of course, nahadlok siya. Okay, base, hindi. In Genesis chapter 15 verse 6, here, it says here, Abraham believed in God's promise, and God considered Abram righteous. Okay, and after that, i-show nyo lang sa mga bata. This one. Yep, this one. Abraham believes in God's promise. God always keeps his promises, and God has given us a promise in the words of the Bible. So focus on God's promise kay Abraham. So we will be like Abram, that he knows that God promises, keep his promises, and he believes on it. All right, since we're done with the lesson, so after lesson we will have an activity. So as we can see here, we have 3 pictures. Okay, 3 kids, 3 pictures, different situations. So the first picture is here. Actually, okay, you can just read it, or if you want to memorize, better. And the first picture is the girl said, I'm alone. Okay, I'm afraid. Maybe it's because I really don't have a family or friends, but sometimes people feel lonely and scared when no one seems to understand. So you ask them, have you ever felt lonely? Just like this girl? Second, I'm worried and anxious. So ask the student, what are you worried about? What else makes you feel anxious? And the last picture, it says, I have a lot of shortcomings. So you can ask students that, what do you think are lacking? What do you think you are lacking? What is not with you? Okay, and after that, there will be given a sticker. I think I don't have it here, but that sticker has a corresponding Bible verse. Okay, and it has meaning on it. So first here, girl, Genesis chapter 28 verse 15. Second, Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6. And lastly, Psalm 23 verse, Psalm 23 verse, sorry, I need to find it. Verse 1. Okay, verse 1. May corresponding na siya. Tapos, there is the dalawang sang stars. Butang tali, number 1, He is with us. Be of a good courage. And lastly, God is enough on the last part. And as we can see here, sa dalom, actually, pang-tier, tani pang-cut, tani sila. Diri, we can say, a man of faith, the name is always God. I will live a life of faith in His promise. Just fill in. And then, lastly, in this part, the conclusion is the prayer. So, this is our prayer for lesson 2 and then end of lesson 2. Chapter 2.